Hello, everybody. Welcome to Angular Air.
Hello.
Happy Friday. It's me, Alyssa, and I go with the amazing Sonder. Yeah, always mess up the side. Hi, Sonder. How are you today?
That is difficult.
It is hard.
But it looks Hawaiian like this.
Oh, hello, everybody. The chat's already going. The chat's going wild. Hi, Dylan and Simon and Natalia and Jeffrey. Good to see you all.
Hello, all of you.
Oh, my goodness. I literally was like, I don't know, like maybe a month ago, I was like, Sonder. And he was like, yes. And I was like, I have questions. And he was like, fine, I will answer your questions. So that is what this episode was born from. I just cannot wait to pick your brain about SSR versus SPA versus the future of Angular and how really I feel from what I've gathered from the communities is that all JavaScript frameworks are kind of moving this way towards server-side rendering. And so what is that face? You disagree? You don't think they are? What is happening in your brain?
I think a boatload of frameworks are moving this way, and they are doing it in a more less than more efficient way.
You said less than more. What is that? Wait.
Yeah.
You're saying it's not an efficient way?
It can be done better. They are making moves in the right direction. But there is still so much more that can be done and should be done. But that actually needs like a new paradigm, or not a new paradigm. It needs an old paradigm reinvented.
That's what my husband said. And I really wanted to break this down with you because when I was brought on board this web development train, SPA was it. Like it was the beginning of SPA and like that was the way. And everyone was like, look at Ajax. What is that? Right? Like it was magic and we were moving into that. But when I told Zach, I was like, oh my gosh, Angular is moving towards this reality of being able to do server-side rendering properly, like in the framework. And he was like, so like in the good old days, how JavaScript used to work. And I was like, come again. So I was hoping you could talk to us a little bit about that and like where we came from and like, are we actually moving in the exact same direction? Like, is it like a pendulum and we're just swinging back?
It's not like a pendulum. It's like a spiral. We are...
like a downward spiral?
I don't know if it's a downwards one or an upwards one. But we are almost running in circles.
Okay, but you're saying it's slightly different?
Yeah, it's slightly different and slightly improved.
Okay.
It's not like a pendulum. It's not like a back and forth. If you look up from like the 100,000 view height, it is like a back and forth. But if you look a little bit closer, like the 10,000 foot height, you see it's not exactly the same. It's like, okay, it is similar, but not the same. And
so back before Smobbits, Natalia was saying, I was today years old when I learned SPA. It's pronounced SPA. I don't know. Do you say SPA? Am I doing that? Is that just a meme?
No, I'm saying SPA also.
Oh, okay.
We have this nice water that is called SPA anyway, so
it's like it's not a scary.
And it has bubbles, and it is also available in flat. So
okay, so back before SPA or SPA was a thing, can you tell me how the web do? How did the web do? You served everything? You just shoved it all up on a server? And it was like very slow? Like what?
It wasn't actually that slow.
No.
Way back when I started building web applications, somewhere in the beginning of the 90s, you navigated to a web page. You were not talking about sites. In those days, it were pages. And a page could navigate to another page by putting a link there. So you got from the index.html to the about.html to the product page 1.html. and every page was just its own file on the server, happily sitting there, having HTML, not CSS because that was not invented yet.
It wasn't?
No.
Shut up. Wait, could you like inline some styles though?
If styles would have been invented, that would have been possible, but no.
So this interactivity that I'm used to on sites today was just not a thing because all you're doing is just linking to other.
There were the first web sites were a collection of pages on a server where you go from page to page. It was like, okay, I'm navigating to another page. Like now you're navigating from one site to another site. And once you land on a site, that thing becomes interactive and loads whatever that it needs to do. But back then it was just HTML pages. And you clicked a couple of things and you went to the next one. If you needed some kind of interactivity, you basically put in a form. Yes, back then forms also existed and they were just as crappy as they are now. You did put in some things. The form had an action, which basically was another HTML page where the server could, and it did a post to the server with the contents of your form, and then the server goes like, okay, and it would give a response, and the response would be a 301 to another page with the result on the server side rendered in there, or anything else. Basically, it was every time you navigate from a page to another page, and all the interactivity, all the updating and stuff like that was done on the server. Nothing was done on the client, basically because, as I said, CSS was not a thing, so everything looked exactly the same.
Is this the same as what Scully does with Angular? Like it allows you to be all like, and then you're up in the server, and then you're living from the server, like some sort of server Angular spider.
Basically, all of those files next to each other is what Scully brings to you.
Okay.
But once you are going to a file, your SPA becomes active, and it starts working like a normal SPA application. But we take your application and spit out every route in its own file. So it's like a hybrid version of the really old way and the new way combined.
And you said that you think that frameworks in general, the community in general, is moving in a non-optimal way towards the new future of SSR. Is that because it is like this weird hybrid of like mashing things together with like interactivity, but we still want it to be on the server, or what? Like what? Where are we going?
It is. What I see frameworks do is they create a server, and the client logs in. They create a session, and the session is run on the server. So it is server-side rendering, which is fine. It's not like a bad paradigm or anything. It's a solution, but they are running the same software, the same SPA. Instead of on the client side, they run it on the server side. Then they create an HTML page. This gets shipped to the browser. The browser starts running the HTML page. And in most frameworks, they redo a boatload of work on the client side that they already did on the server side. And there is one exception. There are a couple of exceptions. The one exception everybody knows about now is Quick, where the server side runs the application, then hands off the HTML to the client, and the client resumes from that part. So it doesn't rerun anything. It goes further from that point on. It goes.
Can Angular get to that point? Like
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Angular can get to that point.
Is it because of Zone.js that we?
It is because we are going to get rid of Zone.js. Yes.
Can you explain why the community hates Zone.js, and also why getting rid of it allows us to do SSR better?
The community has no reason to hate Zone.js because it brought them to the place they are now.
That's a good point. Yes, yeah.
The hatred for Zone.js is really undeserved. there is, if you have an application where you are creating 100,000 DOM nodes and you have like a boatload of interactivity, Zone.js is going to fire a lot. And it will, because your application has like taken a few turns for not the right direction. Because if you want to optimize for speed, what you need to do is to reduce the number of nodes in your DOM. Reduce. That's the only way you can speed and scalability. That is not how enterprise software works in most cases.
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
You don't live in La La Land, I see.
The thing is, if you have like a big application with many DOM nodes and boatloads of events, then Zone is firing all the time because there is always anything happening. And the Angular change detection works from top to bottom. So every time that an event happens, Angular has to check the whole application. If you opt into on push, this is going to be a little bit quicker. But it doesn't take away the fact that it still has to run from top to bottom. It still has to traverse the whole application. And this works so well that it works for most, if not all applications, except the very, very big ones that have too many DOM nodes. Because basically that is where it breaks down. And there is another downside. It takes a fair amount of CPU intensive. It takes a boatload of CPU cycles.
When you say DOM nodes, are you talking about elements in the DOM? Are you talking about markers that like ng-host makes because of like encapsulation? Are you talking about like something that is like
I'm
a variable?
Talking about elements in the DOM elements.
Just any element in the DOM, even if it's not like an interactive one, like it's just there.
Yeah, it's just there.
Okay.
Because if you, I've shown you my form example like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
where you saw like a couple of things, but you didn't see any diffs or any nodes that didn't need to be there.
Yes.
You need to be a minimalist in this line of business to have like scalable applications that are working really well.
An HTML DOM node minimalist. I freaking love it. So you're saying that even though enterprise applications, they're just so beefy, they're just so chunky, they're going to have a lot of nodes, but you're saying they still could cut down and be slimmer than what they are shipping.
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at most, if you open like a random page and count the number of divs there that have like, the only content they have is like another div and another div and another div, like 5 levels deep, and they are only there for some formatting.
Yep.
They don't add anything of value to the application.
I was on a workshop this week for beginner UI in Angular, and we were cleaning up the tour of heroes, and I was like, oh, look, we have found div hell. And my friend who was on the workshop with me, she was like, oh, I've heard it called div soup, but I like div hell better. But it's just, they were just like, even there was just one simple div that was wrapping the whole component. And I was like, this, if we just use the host selector, like to style the outer level of the component is replaceable, right? So you can get rid of that. And so I was teaching like, because there are a lot of reasons where devs will just simply reach for a div, throw it in, and then style, and then, grab it and do something with it. And
put in a div, put on a class and add some styling. And I hate divs. I hate classes.
You hate classes too? You're taking it somewhere. You're going. Can you explain your hatred of classes? You just use IDs? Explain yourself. Or do you just use like a select?
Okay. I use the selectors to style my code. Because we are using Angular, you should use the power of Angular. And Angular has like proper CSS scoping. Which means that...
Are you talking about you do not use those little attributes, the ng-host attributes. You don't use those. What selectors? You're just talking about like the actual name of like...
If I need to style an input, I'm setting input.
So have you ever, and you can be honest, this is a safe space, turned off view encapsulation?
Yes.
You have? Okay. I thought you were going to say no over my dead body was what I was expecting.
No. I have disabled view encapsulations for places where that makes sense.
Okay.
Sometimes you have like a unit that is like 4 or 5 elements deep, but it is if you are building a reusable table thing, you need to share formatting between all of those things, and
Yeah. No, yeah. I've been there.
view encapsulation gets in the way there.
I've often ran in. This is cracking me up, Simon. You are not the only one. I very much can't wait for Sangular JS, and would like to know when 1.0 drops. Is my big question of the day.
Well, if you can raise enough VC, I'm willing to work on that.
You're down. I actually am really so. You were saying that Zone.js, it got us to where we are, but
Yeah,
she thick. She runs from top to bottom, depending on
that's
how
change
chunky.
detection. That's not Zone.js. Different thing.
Right. So, but change detection, because like with signals and this new era of like reactivity in Angular, we're not using change detection because we know where it happens. We know who needs updating when. So it is zone.
All of the old stuff.
So it is Zone.js. Like change detection is Zone.js in that sense, right? Because like then we're like,
no. Zone.js is the thing that fires off change detection.
Okay.
Those are two separate things. Zone.js is just monitoring the user and the browser and see, hey, there is an event going on. And the event can be like an AJAX request that is complete. It can be like a WebSocket that throws something inside or outside. It can be a user clicking all kinds of things. Hell, he might be even using his keyboard and generating events that way. We don't want users using our keyboard ever, but somehow they need to. I don't get it. But all of those things are event, and every freaking event.
So, but we can get rid of both with signals, right? Because we're not. Yes. It's like we don't need change detection anymore, right? Like
if we have entire application, a completely signal only application, we don't need Zone.js anymore, and we don't need change detection anymore. Why don't we need change detection? Because a signal goes like, hey, I updated. The update is here, right here, Angular, this thing.
Yes.
Very specific.
How does this Angular app in the future,
with
absolutely nothing other than signals, work with SSR?
The same way as they are doing now, because there is no difference in that account. It just needs to render the page. It will throw it. SSR is basically your application running on the server. So you go to a route. The server also knows your as you access to your cookie or your authentication. So it logs in and everywhere. So it creates the page that you need to see, and it hands over the page to the client. And once the client is there, actually the same thing as with SSG is happening. From that point on, the Angular application becomes active, and it is not using SSR anymore, but it is just using the client way of doing things.
Can you just like how do you do that? You just like build and you say be on my server now. Like how does one, because I've only ever shipped them what I would consider the normal way. So I'm like, do you have to use something like Scully like in order to take
you have to, how do you ship an SSR? That is the question.
Yeah. With an Angular app.
Yeah, your Angular app comes with a small Node.js service. On your what you need to do is create like use a web server like nginx and or something like that, and use it as a reverse proxy to your SSR. You don't want to ever put your Node application directly on the internet. You always want to have something in front of that.
Are you saying this as someone who's done this, or you're just warning people who are starting off with SSR to like not do that?
Yeah, do not ever put your Node server directly on, unless you are doing a demo and you don't care about security or performance or anything. You just ship whatever. I would recommend not doing that. Put it behind Nginx or like any other reverse proxy,
Okay.
and have someone that knows what he's doing set this up. So then you have like basically you have your SSS server, which is a node application that is running on the in the cloud or on a special hosting or wherever you want. You can put in like you can build your own computer and put it in a data center and have it attached to internet and do everything yourself, which I have done in the past. So I know, don't do this. Don't try this at home. I've tried it at home, was not a success.
So if you're not supposed to do that way, then you just need to use something like Nginx and then
Nginx is something different. No, you
well,
just,
that's the proxy, but then
use
after
Netlify,
that,
Versal.
oh, like what you said, Live Universal.
Yeah, you basically have to use a cloud provider to host your node application. That will make sure that nothing terrible will happen to your server.
You're always so. Last time we were on here too, you're very aware of the criminals that be lurking in the shadows on the internet. You're always like, that is not secure enough for me.
I have been around long enough to see what happens. I would say, if you don't believe me, buy a computer, turn off the firewall, connect it to the internet, and watch how long that it takes before it catches a virus. I can guarantee you within 5 minutes. You connect an unprotected computer to the internet without doing anything. Just open a browser. This thing is infected in 5 minutes.
The audience, Christopher said Scully is for static site generation, SSG, correct? And then Simon was like, yes. So SSG, because we were talking about this last time off air, and it was, you said we needed the acronym SSC or something, or what acronym you made up one. What was it?
Yeah.
It was like SSR, and it's not SSR versus SPA. It's like SSR versus SSC or something like.
Yeah. Well, you have SSR, which is server-side rendering. That basically means that if anyone needs a page, it goes to a server. That service is going to run your application on a server and then creates the page, ships off that to the client. In the current Angular version, your client takes the application, renders it to the browser will render it to the client. And then the Angular application will say, and it will go like, okay, I just thrown away everything and rebuilt the entire application. Here you go. And that is where people see, hey, my application has like a flicker or a blank page.
The flicker.
The flicker. Yes. And that is Angular in version 16, which is coming out pretty soon, I hope. We'll have like proper hydration. So that basically means the SSR is going to be able to ship off this client, and Angular is not going to do that part anymore. It is just going to go, hey, we have an application here. Let's fill in the blanks.
So this is because it's not redoing work?
It is still redoing work, but it is not destroying the DOM anymore.
Oh, not chucking the DOM out. Okay, so, but it's still redoing work because we're not there yet?
Not only we are not there yet, but it is probably something that we are not going to be able to avoid anytime soon. Because your DOM might be there already, but all the state that is behind this DOM still needs to be populated to all of your services and to all of your components that are inside of there. So because your application can only start from the thing that is there already. So it has to load the data that is already displayed there. It's not throwing away what's there anymore. That is way better than it was. So we got rid of the flash, but the application still needs to be hydrated. It still So and that is why we talk about hydration.
And you're saying we should get that in 16. I thought that was later.
it is going to be, no, the hydration is going to be in developer preview in version 16 also.
So if something's in developer preview, that means we don't
It is
get it
pretty
unless
safe to
we.
use. It might
Okay.
change, however.
Okay.
There is no guarantee that what developer preview means in Angular land is okay, the team thinks this is the version it should be. We are not expecting
Changes.
big changes anymore. But if it turns out that there is like this big use case, or in the practice something really, really breaks, they might need to redo some serious parts of the API and restructure things that might break the code that is using this new part. So yes, you can use it. It will be there for the foreseeable future. They are not going to say in Angular 17, "Now this was a bad idea. We are not going to do hydration." That is not what's going to happen.
Can you imagine? Oh, we're just gonna take that back. We're just gonna.
yeah. But this whole signals, nah, we are going to bad idea. We are not going to do that. That is not going to happen. But it is in developer preview, because if you put out something like this in the wild, you come up at like, hey, there are boatloads of developers that are going to set signals from events, and then set signals from events responding to that thing, set signals, and creating like nice circular things, so that we have replaced the zone and the change detection with something new that keeps on flashing your screen because it keeps on updating. And if they find out that this is like our reasonable common use case, they are going to put something in that breaks that use, and will throw an error or something.
Throw an error, right?
And
how could you make that circle with signals? Like, because you're saying like.
Yeah, you should not be doing this, but it is possible. Effects are there to update things in the DOM or something. But if you are setting a signal from within an effect, that basically means you are setting something for the next cycle. That means if you're setting it for signal counter, I create a signal counter and a counters, and then I have an effect, and in an effect, I'm updating something, and then I'm setting the counter to +1. But the counter is used in the effect. So what will happen is, it triggers this update. It will do, because everything is nicely protected, it will run in one cycle, and directly it goes, oh, the signal has changed, and it will go run the cycle again. So this is like a stupid example. People are going, yeah, I'm never going to do that. But you can you have signal counter, and then you have signal is even, and then you have another signal if even bigger than 10, and then you are updating something that triggers this whole cascade, and you end up in like a cycling thing, setting a counter in effect that uses the counter. Yeah, everyone understands. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
You said you were playing with signals. Can you show us what you were playing with? I just want to see someone using an effect in a proper way. Or even,
I should not be showing this code.
or even compute it. Did you play around with that?
Well, I was playing with signals even before anything was released, and I was going back and forth with Pavel and Alex, and I was going like, hey, fine, we can have like incremental computation. And incremental computation is one thing where you I will give an example because it is easy. You have a point of sale system. So you have you are scanning your products, and you're scanning your product. So the event goes, boop, new product. You take the product and you calculate the price and you update the total. Most cost registers say, boop, we have an array with things that we have scanned already. We update the array. We do the whole sum of the whole array again, which works fine, unless you have like an American supermarket where people come with discount coupons, and they have like 10,000 products on there, and then you suddenly end up with your point of sale system not working anymore because this thing is so long, it takes forever to add anything new. incremental computation says, okay, if I'm scanning something, I'm just updating the total. I'm not going to traverse the entire array over and over again. I have the sum, and okay, I get a new product row. Okay, the total of this product row is $20. I add $20 to the total. Done. If you throw something out, you say, okay, I have a negative product, because that's the only way that works in that system. And then it goes, we are going to take out $20. So it's basically just keeping a total and updating this with everything that comes in. So you have an event, and the event says, hey, there is a new product. I update this total. And I update this. But that is actually basically that is using mixing events with signals, and that is not a good idea.
It's not?
No. Not in the Angular version. You can do this with signals, but not with the Angular version of signals. Signals is not an Angular concept. It's like a wider concept in...
Who has this concept, Sander? Who? You think this JavaScript community is walking around talking about their signals? Like what?
No, this is like something invented in the 60s. Like all of the things we have done, everything is already invented in the 60s. We are just reinventing it and making it a little bit better, running in a little bit smaller circle again.
A smaller circle. The developer spiral. I love it. So you're saying with the point of sale system example that because you're only updating a piece of the information, like the total, and you're not going and like looking through the array and changing it every time, that
you are basically changing an O to N computation to an O1 computation.
Oh my gosh. Did you get a computer science degree, Sander? Did you? You can
I have studied enough to get one. I actually am a certified COBOL engineer.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Wait, how do you get certified? Is there like a test you take? How does...
Yes, there is like an official exam for this thing.
Oh my god.
It is apparently that is like a 4-year universal study.
Oh, that's amazing. And were you just like one day bored and you're like, let me take this test?
Well, no, I was getting out of school, and I was starting my business, and I was like, I actually should get some paper. And somebody said, hey, there is this nice thing where you can get, that is a 1-year thing. You have like 6 months of theory and 6 months of internship, and then you are a certified COBOL engineer. I was like, that looks like something I can do. So I did this thing. In hindsight, this was like 4 years pushed into 1 year. So it was a little bit of an accelerated program, which also explained why there was like 80% of the people that entered the program flunked.
Yeah,
they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was there like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we be worried that Sander thinks going from 4 years to 1 year is called a little bit of an acceleration? Because like if that's what you think is like a little bit of an acceleration,
for me it was. I think I could have done the same thing in 3 months. But then I would really have to commit to it for like 3 months, which is I'm a little bit hyperactive, so it was good that it was like a year, so I could procrastinate for like
for at least half of
months.
it. So I'm excited for signals. I'm also a little confused though with the ecosystem and what has to change for it, because I feel like, can we, like if Alyssa's application goes full signals, but I'm using maybe a dependency or a library that's not, do I still get to throw out Zone.js? I know, Kendo UI? Or do I have to wait until everybody is on the train? What happens?
That has to be seen, but you can do signals in your own part of the application. And right now, Angular is taking really good care to make sure it works in a mixed environment. So if your library doesn't have like signal support, but it is still zone, it will work together. So the pressure is off. It's not like, okay, version 17 comes out, this is full signals, which is half a year away, so we have more than time enough to update all of our applications. But yeah, right. So the library authors and so on that are still supporting their libraries can update to the newer versions and support those things. The nice thing is they are going to be backward compatible. So if your library is supporting signals, but the application still is not supporting this mix will also work. At least if everything is up to date, because if you are using an older Angular version with a newer version of the library, that is not going to fly. This is going to be painful for a bit, but not more painful than any other Angular version update.
Okay.
For library author, you have been in the library authoring. Angular updates are always a pain in the. The soon doesn't shine.
I've like gotten so good at reading npm dependency errors. Like more good than I want to be. I'm like, oh, I've seen that one 5 times before. Oh God. But honestly, I don't know if it's the ADHD or what, but I get like if I start getting stressed, my ability to like debug issues like goes significantly down. So if I take a break and come back to it, I'm like, oh, obviously that version is incorrect. Let's just fix that, shall we? You know, I was going to ask you with 16. Yes, that's the next one. We'll be up to date with TypeScript. Yes.
It will work with TypeScript 5. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That was. Don't try to update your TypeScript just yet, everybody. It didn't work.
I was just updating an application and it installed TypeScript 5 and I had to go and I rolled it back to 4.5.
It did. That happened to me too, but I was like, let's try to make this work. And I don't know what's wrong with just what is, I don't.
Yeah, it's.
Because, you can force things. You can be like, no, you will use this. And they'll be like, just like sitting back laughing at you. So,
yeah, it's okay. Here are the type errors. That is TypeScript. No. Everything works. But here are 60,000 type errors. Go fix those. And we are all hunky-dory. And then you go look through them. And then but this is coming from a library.
Then you're like, I hate my life. Why did I do this? Oh, question for the future of web devs in general and for Angular. Like, is this the last step? Because you said we're getting better hydration. We are moving towards removing change detection. Is there anything else that we need? Are we? I mean,
there's always anything else that we need.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Like, bing bang boom, right?
Yeah, we are software developers. We are never done. We can always fix things or make it better or make it faster. The nice thing is, if you are using Angular, you don't have to do anything. Just keep up to date, and Angular will make sure that everything gets faster and better and smaller. While you have to do little work. Yeah, you have to run ng update. Although with the signals, that is probably not going to happen.
What's not going to happen?
Well, we are not going to magically update from Zone.js to Signal version of the application.
You're saying that you can't make a schematic that will do that for me?
I can make the schematic, but you have to debug your application after that.
Because you're saying there's going to be bugs.
There's going to be boatloads of bugs.
Oh, you know what the schematic should do? Instead of changing anything, all it should do is just spit out like file names and lines of like you need to look at this line. You need to change this line. You need to mess with this line, right? Like it's just like a list. Like it's your checklist, right? Of like
I think that might be discouraging for most
oh,
applications.
yeah. I can see how that would be.
Although I love that they did update schematics for standalone, and those are working pretty well.
Have you used the one that does everything though? Like the whole used it?
And it works. I had to roll back a couple of things because in this application I was using Scully, and Scully needs to have a module on top. The rest can be standalone, but I need to have a module on top. And the routes need to be in modules for Scully right now because we are using guest parser, and guest parser cannot work without route modules.
Okay.
Don't get me started. I'm writing something new for this, but
can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because someone was asking earlier in the chat, is Scully still alive?
Oh, yes, Scully is very much alive.
There's so many like with standalone, with signals, with things like that. Like what's upcoming for Scully? And because you just said that you're working on, like, will we be able to have a completely, like, the no module on top one day? Or is that a hard, ask?
No, yes and no. It is a hard ask because I need to write Angular application parser that creates an AST out of the Angular application just to read out all of the routes, which is what Guess was doing, but Guess parser is not being updated to the later Angular versions.
Like it's not going to be, or just hasn't yet.
Talk to Minko.
Okay. I shall pester the Minko. Okay.
I'm afraid it is not going to be updated.
Oh, okay.
There might be something. They might be working on something for this inside of Angular. I don't know.
Okay.
There might be but Angular Scully has a solution for this, because you basically can tell Scully, like, here is a list of routes, do your thing. Yeah. But then you have to manually come up with this list, which is a little bit painful. I have been experimenting with like a special parser that just reads out all of the TypeScript files for the routes and extract that, and that is working really well. But you have to work. Yes, it is working. It's working really well, but you have to structure your routes in a specific way, otherwise it will fail.
What does that mean?
You have.
How can
you have to lazy load everything?
Oh. Okay.
No. Okay. No normal.
I getcha.
You have to lazy load everything.
Okay.
Because I'm just compiling the route files. And if there's a component in there, it will try to compile this component, and it will do a reasonable job, but at a certain point it will fail because all kinds of things are imported that are basically just a full Angular application.
Right. So with Scully, like, how long does it take for Scully to go through your routes and to like plop for each component and for each page? Like, how long does that? Is that hours of time? How long does this take?
It depends on how many pages your application has.
So let's say it's like Tour of Heroes,
which has 40, 50 pages.
The Tour of Heroes? It has like 2 routes, 1 module.
Oh, well, it will take a second or 2.
Really? It's that fast?
I can quickly share.
Yeah, you'll show me?
Screen.
Yes! I want to see it happen.
I'm just going to show a screen.
Okay. And I'll add it. I'm so excited to see. When Sander shows you things, everyone's always like mind blown. So I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Yes.
I've been running Scully in this sample thingy. And here you can see I've been running for 6 seconds. I've created 66 pages.
Can you bump up the font maybe a little bit?
Of course I can bump
Thank
up
you.
the font for
okay, total time used 6 seconds. 66 pages have been created. Rendering the pages took 1.2 seconds. Wait, I'm confused.
Well,
What?
There is like data to be fetched from servers.
Oh.
So that takes some time. we have to traverse the routes. That takes some time, but the actual rendering took 1.27. So if I'm running this thing, so I'm building my application and running Scully. And this is still on version 15 now. This is an old application that I upgraded today from version 9 to version 15.
Oh, nice. Did you do it one at a time or did you just take the leap?
I was doing it one at a time, and then Angular was giving me, and I was going, okay, and I just updated everything in the package updation, did an npm install, and fixed everything.
It fixed everything.
It is not a big application. It is a demo application. Don't do this for real application.
You're like, don't do this at home, please.
Don't do this at home. This is a demo, and I wanted to create something, but you see, I can create 50 pages a second. So the ramp up takes some time. Okay. So that is like, okay, I need to start. If you look at here, I need to start warming up 32 workers. I have a couple of CPUs in this thing. So it is saying, hey, there are that many CPUs. I'm going to start that many workers.
But this is one time? Or
this is like
every time?
This is one time during, if you say, hey, I want to deploy my site, I run this thing.
Yep.
And
then it's like built the pages. It's like got it all done, and then it like you shove it up into law server, and that doesn't have to be reran again. It's just the hydration part.
Yeah.
That the client has to wait on. They're like,
I have moved. Let me bump up the font. Oh, come on. I went into my dist, and this is actually the folder that is the result. So I have I have all my JavaScript modules, and I have an index.html. In my index.html, there is all the CSS and the. Nice. Let me format this thing. You see, this is like a fully qualified page with everything filled in.
Okay.
And you are deploying this to your server, so it directly renders. There is time to interactive is like 0, and then Angular comes like, oh, this is nice, and they throw it all away and do it again.
For now, but you're saying we're getting one baby step towards, because we'll have no Flash. We're not throwing out the DOM.
We will have no Flash, and there will be possibilities. I'm also having like, okay, I have a couple of docs page in here. So I have an index, an issue space, docs/issues that will land on this thing. So probably, how is it doing that? Let me format. So probably this is transition Scully docs. There's probably going to something about docs here. Button bar, I don't know. Oh, this is like a really small page for the docs where there is like a section. Here it is about issues to create a bug. I just basically took. Here is another page formatted. Why is it doing that over and over again? There's a little bit more. You see, there is a little bit more here, qua content. So those are just pages you throw at a server. You don't need SSR. All of those pages are pre-rendered, and that is the difference with SSR. You don't need a special server. This is just a static website you deploy to any server or server from GitHub Pages or whatever your fancy is. You can throw it on Netlify, on Versal.
But you said that we cannot be tossing things about willy-nilly because of the bad beefs on the internet. That's what my son calls it.
You cannot willy-nilly toss a Node application running somewhere, because that is a bad idea.
What is the difference? What are you talking about?
This is not a Node application. These are just static HTML files.
When you say a Node application, do you mean like when I go into my app and I'm like ng-serve and it's like, okay, and you're talking about
basically what is happening is for SSR, you are ng-serving on a server.
Okay.
It is not ng-serve, but it is like ng-serve. Can I show something?
Because you don't love us? You took away our ng-serve? What is it? What is it running? This view is crazy. Is this how you work? Is this what your life looks like? He's like, yes.
Yes, this is how my life is working.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah. Simon said what Sander won't tell you about Scully is that it just submits your app to him and he
exactly how it works.
and he hand codes the Scully output in real time, and that's just how fast he is.
If only I would be that fast. That would be useful.
And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't spend it pretending to be Scully if he had that superpower.
Where is my... Well, I cannot find it. Sorry.
No worries, my love. I I am excited to try this, but I'm also wondering if I should wait until I am and Zone.js. Okay, question. If I like completely get everything into signals, would Zone.js still be doing its thing, or do I have to manually be like, go away?
Yes.
I have to say go away.
For now, you have to say go away.
Because it would still be chug-a-lugging.
Yes,
Okay.
because Angular doesn't know what you're going to do or what your third parties are going to use.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
the Angular team is always on the safe side. So if you want to opt out, you have to opt out yourself.
I got you. So as soon as it's not like as soon as I write like the first line of signal code in my app, Zone.js is like, and runs away. Like I gotta actually do that myself. Okay, I gotcha.
You have to opt out of zones and say, no more zones.
No more zones. Okay.
And that is the first step, because Angular right now, there is no way you can turn off change detection.
What? No. Pish posh. I call a lie. What are you talking about?
Tell me how to do it.
I really thought there was. I thought you could just turn it off. There's really no way to do it. What is the plan? What is the plan?
Version 17, version 18.
Okay, I got you. So be patient.
So there is you can turn off Zone.js, which will not run change detection as often as it is doing now. It will only run change detection when something is actually changing that needs change detection. So
it's like it's still better, right?
It is way better. It's going to be way faster, but it is still running change detection.
We have a question in the chat from the lovely Steve. If SEO is my priority, what'd you say?
Scully.
Is there a difference between like Universal and Scully SEO wise?
Yes. And let me. If you have something like sessions, so if you have like specific content for specific users, you cannot use Scully. Or if you have like two types of users, you can use Scully because you can embed both options in a thing. But if you have like specific versions if every user has its own version, that means that every page is different. So you cannot use Scully because... you can use Scully, but you have to generate millions and millions of pages because everything needs to be in its own route, which is not that is not a real option. SSR is running the application on the server, so it will be able to cater with this. But if you're running different responses for different users, that means you cannot do SEO to begin with.
Oh, really?
What do you want to SEO? Search engine optimization means that you tell the search engine, here is my site. And then the search engine goes, okay, I will visit all pages and index this thing and put it in our advertisement database, basically. That is what SEO is doing.
But that would mean that Universal also can't do that. Right?
And Universal can do that, but only if it renders the same pages for all the users.
Okay.
If you have like a part of your application that is behind a login, you cannot do SEO for that part of your application.
Okay.
And if you have like a part of your page that is different for every user, for SEO, this will always be the same part, or it needs to be like grayed out or something like that, because there is no way you can SEO a page like that. SEO needs a static input, and Scully is giving you a static input because it is just a boatload of HTML files, and the SEO can go, hey, give me all those pages, and it gets all of the pages. It gets exactly what it wants, and it will do some clever guesses, and it will try to start the application. Oh, this is a pretty fast site because everything is there already. So you will get proper numbers for SEO. So for SEO, Scully is like a little bit better option than SSR. SSR is not bad. You can do with Universal. You can also do pre-rendering. Pre-rendering does more or less a similar thing that Scully does, but Scully does it a little bit better. We have like the automatic route detection. We have plugins to fetch all the data for multiple routes.
Okay. There was another question by Christopher that said, is there interactivity in Scully, or is it only static sites? I think we touched on this earlier, but
yeah, it is interactive because the static site is there. You go to okay, I'm going to product to my site /products/ garden / shovel, and it will give you the page for the shovel right away. So it is static in that sense. It is there directly with everything rendered in there. So you have your shovel page, shovel to your user, and then your Scully goes like, hey, we have an actual user, and it will start the application. So it will bootstrap your application as usual. Your application goes like, hey, I'm on this route, so it will render hopefully the same content again. It should, but it will render the same content again, and the user can just interact with your application as it was before. So Scully is very much a really good solution for SEO. It also has like a very good option for time to interactive, unless you are doing a couple of things in an inefficient way. That means that we give you tools with Scully to throw in all the data when the page starts. So it has all the data available sync. And if all data is available in sync, it means that Angular can run in one cycle of the change detection and update the whole page in one cycle. And then you don't have a flash. Actually, if you run this in like page speed or any other levels, you get like 90+ scores.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. However, if your application is doing async stuff in between and going to servers to load things, basically what happens, Angular goes like, it throws out the page, it runs your application, your application is waiting for everything to come back, and then it rebuilds your page. Or it builds a part, and then a part, and then a part, and then a part. So if your data is not available sync, it will be a lesser experience. Depending on how good your application is, how fast your application is, because it might be basically like a small flash that you're only seeing because you are looking at it. Not like most users that click on a site and did this thing just flicker? If you do the right thing, most users will not even notice. We as developers are
we are so focused in that we're like, did you see that one pixel? It's wrong. Yeah, I know. I've been there. Did you see Durgesh's question? I don't know what this chunk load error is. Do you know what that is?
How can we solve chunk load error in React? Yeah, don't use React.
That is what Christopher says. He said, is there a solution? I don't know what this error is. I've never chunk load errored. That's not a Scully thing, is it? Is that a Scully thing? Oh, okay.
No, it's not a Scully thing. Chunk loading error basically means that your application is trying to load a part of the application that is not ready yet. and that is probably not a React problem, but a Next or Next or whatever the thing currently in vogue is. That
Yeah.
is, it is doing some things on the server and then pushing off things to the client.
Okay.
And then the client asks for something, and the server is not ready yet, so it says, I don't have this chunk.
You will be a chunkless wonder.
So and then the client goes like, you told me to load this stuff, and I don't know. Syntax error.
Yeah, so
Go away, user. Go away.
I want it to do what CSS does when there's a problem and it just keeps going and it just does an error and it's just like whatever.
Yeah, that is. We have like a word for this behavior. It's called progressive enhancement. And that is how we should build applications.
Steve wants to know, is there a good forum or a community that will be helpful when like trying to learn and use Scully?
Steve knows how to reach me. I just was in a meeting before this where Steve was also in, so he knows the answer on this thing.
Maybe he's throwing us a softball. Maybe he's like trying to prompt us.
Actually, the Scully documentation is pretty good. What I was just showing in the application, that is like an Angular application on the new version of Scully that is going to be released as soon as I have enough time. I'm not getting paid anymore to work on Scully, so it has to be done in my spare time, and my spare time is reasonably sparse, so it is going slow.
It's like whenever you said, yeah, it was 4 years of content in 1 year, and it was just a little squish, and I'm like, so when you say a little sparse, I'm like, so you basically have all spare time is what you're saying to me.
I have a couple of hours to work, and I have why there was not a new version of Scully was because we had to rip out all of the tooling we had to build Scully. So I created a new version of Scully that is not put in the public. It is available if you know where to look, but it's not on the Scully repo. There is a
sneaky.
Yeah, it is very sneaky. It is written entirely to use ESM. It is written with new build tools. We were using NX, and NX was not functional for building Scully. Scully is an Angular application. Scully is actually not an application. It is a tool set with a boatload of plugins. So it was not a good fit for NX. We started using NX when it was new. So we had all kinds of affordances in there. Basically, we had to take out NX because it was breaking everything on every update.
When will you be able to swap them out? Swap a swap.
Yeah, it's not easy to swap out your build tools.
No, like can't you just secretly like replace the old Scully with the new Scully and like walk away? Like.
I'm not going to say any comments there, but pretty soon there will be our version 3.1 beta, and the thing is, I need to update a boatload of documentation, and as a good developer, we love working on documentation.
Natalia said, "Do you have a public backlog? If anyone wanted to help with Scully, asking for a friend."
Natalia, find me. You know how to reach me. I can put you to work. Yes, please help. I'm working for Scully now for 4 years, or over 4 years. In this time, I have done like 80 to 90% of the work of all the things Scully. I had help with people writing documentation, but also those people were paid for it. Now that Scully is not being supported that way anymore. Let me say it, in those 4 years, I had like one real contribution from an outside contributor. I had a couple of contributions. Jeffrey is helping me with Scully also. So it's me and Jeffrey that are running the project, and we have like one person that is, if he has time, puts in some work, which is really nice. But yes, we can use work. We can use help. We need to update documentation. We need some test runners. we need some help with setting up the DevOps, because all of those things on every iteration in the past, everything broke and we had to fix it. And that was not because we did it the wrong way, but we were using tools that were really, really, really new, like GitHub Actions. We started using GitHub Actions when it was on version, not even on version 1.
Nice.
we started NX before it was ready. And basically that why Scully didn't update for a long time was because the ecosystem was not ready, because we really needed ESM to work pretty well. And only like 2 or 3 months ago, it was on a good enough level of support so that we could actually run the things that we needed to run. And none of these things had really to do with anything basically Scully, but with the things we need to build Scully and to be able to run Scully with the Angular application. Because on the point that Angular said, hey, we are going ESM only, I had a problem with Scully because I needed to support that. And the tooling was just not there yet.
So if someone
wants in the browser, but we need to run it on Node.
If someone wants to help out, do you want them to reach out on Twitter, or do you want them to reach out on the GitHub?
They can reach out on any means. I have a GitHub. I'm on GitHub. If you look in my things, you might find something there that has to do with this. You can DM to me on Twitter. You can DM to me on GitHub. I'm available on Mastodon, so find me, ping me, and I will send you a link, and I will welcome all contributions.
Yay! Well, I honestly cannot thank you enough for coming on, answering my questions, going back to the basics with the web and SSR in general, and explaining things to me, and then showing us some Scully and talking to us about the future of Angular, where we're headed. So I am just so thankful for you, Sander, and what you're doing.
You're welcome.
The community.
Yeah. And we actually didn't go that deep into the whole SSG, SSR.
I know. I know.
Actually, the thing that you invited me for, we totally avoided.
Hour flew by. It flew by. Do you have any picks for today? Anything that you want to highlight?
Yes, there is this small RFC going on. That is going on until the 24th, which is Monday. Put in your comment or forever hold your peace. Now there is the chance to have influence on the Angular team by putting in a well-documented, thought-through comment in there with actual actionable points. If you want to know how to do that, look at the comments I put in there.
And he's so. And
if you want to do that, just mark up my comments. Say, hey, this is a good idea. Do this.
Here is the discussions, which is where all Angular RFCs are, and I assume you are talking about because there's.
I think the signals. I think it's number 2. The signals itself or 3. I don't know.
Okay.
Which is the most interesting one.
I know, because they're so. They chunked it up, which it makes sense, but it is intimidating when you're so many RFCs. Okay.
Yeah, and there are only 3 comments or something on each of them.
I lost you. You said there are only what?
I think there are only 3 comments on every RFC, something like that.
Oh really? Oh no. Okay, I'm so glad that you mentioned.
A big chunk to read, and if you want to read up to all of the comments, good luck with the rest of your day or tomorrow. There is a weekend coming on, so go read everything. We will be done by Monday.
That's the perfect pick. I love it. I think that is a wrap then. I am going to shout out to Kenda UI. Thanks for wearing the shirt, Sander. She is our sponsor for Angular Air. Keeps the lights going. So check out kendaui.com if you want a cool component suite. And I think that's all for today. Go have a marvelous weekend and check out the RFCs before they close.
Oh, and check out my Validonti library.
Ooh, yes, which we have an episode on. If you go to Angular Air, you can watch Jeffrey and Sander go through it, and there's links in that description. that you can click to go straight to the library. But it's all about form validation, and there's some pretty cool hot takes in that episode. So I highly recommend it. You always have hot takes. Your whole life is one big hot take. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I love your hot takes, but there were some. You said some things about, template driven versus.
Yeah, but I stand by that.
What?
It is easy. You don't want to use things that are making you type way more than you need to.
Hot take doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you might upset someone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me, and I will reason with them until they are so tired they give up and roll over to the template side.
They're like, fine, I will do template-driven forms. Thank you, Sander, so much. Thank you, chat. You were amazing. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on the next one. Mwah! Bye, everybody.
Bye.